Hello everyone. So today we have a question from Cyrus about 529 plans. He asked, what is the best plan to use assuming that you do not have the ability to take a state income tax deduction? He also wants to know about the ability to convert up to 35,000 of that into a Roth IRA for a beneficiary. So Cyrus, this is a very timely question. It just turns out that I got asked the same question by 3 different people in the last week. So let's go ahead and address this. And I'm going to broaden the scope a little bit just so that we make sure we get everyone's question answered. Hi, I'm Joe Brown here at Junior Officer Money, where we help you launch your career and secure your finances. So let's start with what is a 529, and then we'll go into the best use for it in the future. A 529 is a state-administered savings plan for college tuition. You, as the account owner, retain control of the money and can change the beneficiary at any time in the future. You don't have to use the plan administered by your state. You can use anyone that's open to people from other states. And so some states only let you use it if you are a member of their state. Other ones say we don't care, anyone can use it. We'll go ahead and teach you how to determine which one is which. And to make it even more complicated than that, every state does it a little different. So when you go to evaluate which is the best, it may or may not be your state. And you have to take into account a couple different things. Now, Cyrus in his question said, let's disregard the state income tax deduction. Probably due to him being in a state that doesn't have a state income tax, like Florida, Alaska, or Texas, or New Hampshire. Now, if you want to check what your savings would be, Vanguard has a handy calculator online telling you what your savings would be if your state does give you an income tax deduction. Just know that depending on how good or bad your state's plan is, that may mean that you want to use it or you may want to forego the deduction. I put the link down in the description below, so go ahead and check that out if you want to see what you could save by starting a 529 plan in your state. And by the way, if you have a student in college, here's a hot tip for you. You can get that deduction even if you have no intention of leaving the money in the account long term. It only has to be in there one day. So go ahead and deposit whatever you were going to pay to the school this year into that account. Go ahead and take the deduction for the year, and the next day you can pull it out, as long as you have qualified expenses that meet or exceed the amount that you pulled out. So in Rhode Island, that could mean you maybe save $47 for the year. But if you're in a state like New York with higher deductions, it could be greater than $400. And I don't know about you, but if I was offered $400, I would definitely take it for less than 20 minutes worth of work. Okay, so back to the question. Which is the best if you don't consider state tax deductions? So here are 2 things that I think you should focus on. First, the fees that are charged for the 529 plan, and second is the selection of investments. Because let's face it, right? The fees are going to come off the top every year, and the investments are what are going to determine how much you grow. So you want low fees and good choices. Okay, so with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the top plans. Now, I'm just going to list these alphabetically because often the differences for these plans is going to come down to preference. So, for instance, you might say, I like T. Rowe Price over Vanguard, but Fidelity better than both. Or you might be like, I really want to be able to see Schwab investments. Whatever your choice is, it doesn't really, a lot of them perform very similarly because they're index funds and they're off the same one. The fees may change a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at, we're going to do 4 different ones that may be great for you in your situation. So first up, Alaska, right? They use T. Rowe Price funds, have a good selection and options. Their asset-based expense ratio is between 0.16 and 0.87, depending on which investment you pick. Next up, New Hampshire. Now New Hampshire actually has a couple different plans. The one that I'm talking about here is their unique college investing plan. Now it makes the list because it has an extremely high total account balance, topping out over 600,000. Now you'll see when you go in and look at these, they all change. Most of them are somewhere in the $400,000 to $600,000 range, with New Hampshire being at the top end of that range. Now, it only uses Fidelity funds though, so if that's a deal breaker for you, then New Hampshire may not be the right choice. Their expense ratio is around between 0.1 and 0.95%, again, depending on which investments you pick. New Mexico is next on the list. It has a really good e-gifting platform so that your family and friends can be linked into the account and set up recurring contributions. Now, all the plans have that tool that's similar to it. I've heard that New Mexico's is particularly good. I've never personally used it. I do know that you can set up recurring transfers. So for instance, if your family wants to be able to set up a recurring transfer, they could. Now, this one is administered by Ascensus College Savings. They offer investments through a variety of fund families. So again, right, not only do you have that cool tool for all your family to be able to set up the contributing contributions for you, but you also have a variety of fund families in this one, where a lot of the other ones have been solely like Fidelity or T. Rowe Price. Now, their expense ratio, super competitive, usually between 0.1 and 0.38, depending on what investments you pick. The last one I'm going to consider is Utah. You've probably heard, if you've been doing any research on this for a while, Utah is always rated as one of the top ones. They use Utah Education Savings Board of Trustees. That's who manages it. The costs vary by which type of investment. Again, 0.1%, 0.221% is what your costs will vary between. Now, I don't really think you can go wrong with any of those plans. If you want to check out the particulars on any of them, I really like the website savingforcollege.com. You can look up the current information. They give you a nice little write-up on the plan, and all the information that I set up above was current as of early 2024. It does change over time. Vanguard, again, has a handy tool that will allow you to compare up to 3 529 plans side by side. So you kind of get the vertical, if you've seen it for like car shopping or something else like that, you get the vertical display of all the information. I'll put the link for that below. Vanguard has a lot of cool calculators on their site in general, but for college savings in Okay, so now on to that last part of Cyrus's question, using a 529 plan to fund a Roth IRA. So in 2023, with the Secure 2.0 Act, they approved that you could transfer up to $35,000 into a beneficiary's account without any penalty. Now, that's a lifetime cap. It is not a year-by-year cap, and we'll get into the specifics on that. And let me tell you, there are a lot of specifics on this rule, and to make it even a little more complicated, not all of them are finalized yet. So for some of it, I'm going to give you our best estimation of what we think is going to happen. For other things, I'll tell you that we know this is the way it is. So first, the account needs to be in existence for 15 years. We know that's true. Now, the question is, what does existence mean? So right now, it looks like a change in beneficiary will cause that clock to reset to 0. But the final guidelines have not been published on that, so that could change. So the reason this is important is often if you have multiple children, you will move the account between children as the years progress so that you can use the funds to be able to pay for the children's college. You can also redesignate the beneficiary to grandchildren or nieces and nephews and such as that. So just to realize that as the controlling member of the account, you really get to decide that. But be aware that every time you change it, that 15-year rule, right now, it looks like they're going to write the guideline that it'll reset. Next is the money has to have been in the account for at least 5 years. It means that you can't just deposit the funds and immediately roll it over to a Roth IRA. Now, rollover is a bit of a misnomer because you can't actually withdraw the funds, have them sent to you, and then deposit them into a Roth IRA. These need to go custodian to custodian. That means you'll have to have the Usually it'll be an electronic transfer, but it could also be a paper check mailed directly to the new custodian or whoever the Roth IRA custodian is. Make sure that you get that right, because if you don't, you're going to be on the hook for that 10% penalty and taxes on any of the gains that you made in the account. Now, in addition, the beneficiary that is getting these funds put into the Roth IRA needs to meet the normal requirements for a Roth IRA. That means they need to have earned income equal to or greater than what you're depositing into the account. The annual limit also applies. So if they, in 2024, put $7,000 into their account, there's no room for the Roth IRA to be transferred. So the annual limit being the two most likely that's going to apply to any given student, because what's going to happen is they're going to be putting money already in the account, or you're going to have gifted them money to put into the account that's equal to their earned income, and then there's nothing that there's no more that they can add. So with all of this in mind, when does it make sense to use this ability to roll it over and put $35,000 across multiple years into your Roth IRA account? Well, for you cadet and midshipmen out there, you're prime candidates for this. Your parents aren't using the 529 money to pay for your college. If you don't have a sibling, then that money they're either going to have to pay the 10% penalty and the income tax on the gains, or they can use it for this. And they can also be using it for your books and other required items for while you're there. So make sure you're keeping those receipts and sending it to them so they can get that money out without a penalty. But other than that, that money is available to be able to go into your Roth IRA accounts. And here's the best part. As a cadet, you have income, right? So you exceed that $7,000 a year in income, and you're able to pay, because you get paid while you're going to school, you're able to roll that out of the 529 account into a Roth IRA for you. So for you, this is a great deal. Now, don't forget, if you do decide to go to graduate school later on, that money could be used for graduate school for you. So the 529 account may not, so don't go racing to take all that money out of the 529 account if you think graduate school may be in your future. And of course, there's always those liberal transfer rules where you can designate a new beneficiary. So if you have children, you can always add them as the new beneficiary, and then they can reap the rewards of that account. And if it's seeded with a lot of money up front and they have that 18 years, right, to be able to grow it or more because you haven't had the children yet, that can really add up over time to be able to pay for college. So till next time, remember to keep taking small actions, because over time they will lead to big results. And make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to make sure you don't miss out on any new content from Junior Officer Money, where we are launching careers and securing your financial future.